Yes, people, how are we doing? So, as you can see by the title, the thumbnail, and what is up on the screen, Ian Huntley disrespects Holly and Jessica. What an absolute joke. Now, this did, when I was having a look on a few different stories this morning, was one of the ones that popped up, but it was a certain newspaper that had it in, a certain newspaper article that it was in. And when I read it, I thought, this cannot be true. It must be made up. The newspapers are struggling to sell stories, so they must have made it up. And as you know, from this channel, I'll not just come on and talk about anything that is either made up or I don't know is facts or whether it could be fake or not. But if you type this in Google now, you will see about 10 different stories or 10 different headlines pop up about this story, this case. Now, anyone who's been to prison or anyone who's worked in a prison will know that you can't have football tops in prison for the simple fact, as you'd guessed, it could cause trouble, especially among people who are die-hard football fans. Now, for anyone who isn't familiar, which I'm sure the majority of you who watch this channel, and the majority of you from the UK, I have got audience from outside the UK now, which is in the USA, Australia, and a few different countries in Europe. So I will tell you who Ian Huntley is. Ian Huntley, apart from being an absolute despicable piece of bleep. Now, he is serving life with a minimum of 40 years for the murders of 10-year-olds Holly and Jessica, which was in 2003, I believe. Now, he actually took this to trial, even though he was banked the rights. He put the family through the misery of having to endure a 6-week trial. That horrible man made this poor family, or these two poor families, and the nation for that matter, because I remember this vividly. I've mentioned it on here before previously, but it's one of those cases that absolutely shocks you, and it's one that you never forget. Yeah, like I say, I was a teenager at the time, and it absolutely shocked me. And that's why I've done videos on this horrible piece, or this horrible man, I'll refer to him as, because as you know, I've got to be careful the way I word things on here, because when you talk about certain individuals, the bacons inside a prison, they don't like it, and it flags up. And that's the last thing we want. So anyways, he was the school caretaker at the school of 10-year-olds Holly and Jessica. And this horrible man murdered those two innocent 10-year-old girls. And he is serving life with a minimum of 40 years. And he is inside HMP Frankland serving out that sentence. He has been attacked on a few occasions, and I did cover a story about it when he got attacked and almost lost his life when his throat was cut, and he did nearly lose his life in that attack, and that was inside of HMP Frankland. The inmate was trying to end him, but unfortunately, he didn't get ended that day. Now, getting to the story, because you'll probably be thinking, wait, tell us what's happening. So, it's come from an inside source. Like I say, you cannot buy football tops inside a prison, but he has obviously got a top that looks similar to a football top. And whatever he's done to it, whether it's been paint in the art shop, because there is artwork inside the prisons, or he's done it himself with felt tip pens. There's another inmate put a complaint in about him in May because he was disgusted that this horrible piece, or this horrible vermin, I'll refer to him as, the vermin is walking around with this top on that looks like a Manchester United shirt, which the two 10-year-old girls had on when they disappeared. And he's wrote on the back the number 10. And the other inmates, who are also probably beasties as well, and the officers on the wing who are dealing with him, have noticed he's got a big number 10 on the back. And the other inmates, the one who put a complaint in about him, is saying he's trying to ridicule it because it looks like a Man United t-shirt and he's got the number 10 on the back, the age of his two victims. Now, that t-shirt should have been ripped off his back instantly. But like I've said, when I've done videos on this previously as well, Ian Huntley is on the beastie wings, the bacon wings, which are called vulnerable prisoner wings inside of prison. And the only reason they're classed as a vulnerable prisoner is because they are vulnerable to attack from the other inmates. But I find this highly disrespectful myself, calling them vulnerable. It's the young children who are vulnerable on the streets when predators like this are around. So then why do they get protected and get called vulnerable and get spoken to in a softly manner so that you don't upset these sick individuals? Because that's what happens inside a prison. When people are scared to say things about certain individuals out here or scared to say stuff online, it's the same in prison. People are scared to say stuff to the likes of these because they're not normal criminals. The ones are referred to as, like, say, hardened criminals, the ones who are on normal location. Because they're in for these type of offences, they are grasses. So they'll grass on anybody inside a prison without even thinking about any morals or anything like that, because that's what they're all about. The horrible pieces of whatever. And when something happens to them or they get called a name, they run to the screws, they put complaint forms in. So the screws daren't even talk to them in a disrespectful manner because they'll put complaints in, then the screws will get pulled up. That's how bad it is. It's the same in prison as it is out here. It's an absolute joke. What happened to the days when the screws could give them a good old beating or leave the door open and let the other lads in to take care of them? Them days are gone. But like I say, people, the screws, the other inmates, scared to say anything to them. And this will be the reason why they're allowing them to walk around the wing with that on. Because you'll put a complaint in saying you're breaching me human rights by taking me t-shirt off us. You'll put a complaint in, you'll get legal aid to take the prison system to court for taking a top off them or something like that. That's how hideous situations like this are inside a prison. Well, like I said, that t-shirt should have been ripped off his back. If it wasn't ripped off by the screws, it should have been ripped off by the other prisoners. But I've covered it on here before. Ian Huntley, because he is a number one of the top priorities for being attacked inside of prison, he is on what do you call it? Ear wing inside of Frankland. I was going to say house block here, but that's not. They call them wings. He's on ear wing inside of HMP Frankland, which is in Durham. County Durham. So this particular wing is housing the ones who are most vulnerable to attack. You've got A, B, C, and D, which is all the beastie wings in the bottom of Frankland prison. And A wing has a smaller number of inmates on who are the most vulnerable to attack. And to name a few, you've got Levi Belfield, Wayne Cousins, like I've just mentioned, Ian Huntley, the morgue monster, David Fuller, and Irfan Sharif, the one who killed his daughter, his 10-year-old daughter, I believe she was. So you've got all of these monsters together on the wing. And then there's obviously somebody on the wing who didn't like what he was wearing. They've put a complaint in about it. And there's been another source who's give information to these outlets, which I'm assuming will be one of the screws who works on the wing, who is also outraged. His hands are tied because he daresn't say anything in case he loses his job. Him or her, could be either. So then they went to the papers and tell them exactly what's going on. So that's why I've brought that story up on here, because I find it as shocking as you lot watching this now. How Ian Huntley can be disrespecting these poor little defenseless girls who he murdered, disrespecting his victims by waltzing round the wings, wearing what looks like a replica Manchester United t-shirt with a number 10 on the back. The governor wants to get himself a backbone and get on there and rip the fucker off his back. Because like I say, the majority of them that are on there are all high-profile beasties. So that's the reason why no one else has attacked him, because they're keeping him high priority, because he's high priority to be attacked from the other inmates. Well, like I've mentioned, when I've done a story about it on here, I can't remember the name of the fella now. He tried to end Huntley's life. He ended up getting another life sentence on top for that attempted murder on him. And he went on to kill another bacon inside of HMP Full Sutton afterwards. And I cannot remember his name. But if you go back through my videos, you will see it. But like I say, I seen this morning and I thought, it's got to be complete bullshit, this, because this shouldn't be allowed. This wouldn't happen. Because one of the articles that I read actually said that it was a Manchester United t-shirt purchased online from Sports Direct. But I thought to myself, for starters, prisoners cannot order from Sports Direct, as far as I know. It's just out in the M&M catalogue. And secondly, you can't purchase football tops inside a prison. So that's why when I seen this, I thought, this is bullshit. I'm not doing a story on this. But when I've looked into it further later on in the day, and there's dozens of different articles, there's even some on news outlets, on the media outlets, showing it on the TV. So I thought, obviously, there's got to be some truth in it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been spread like wildfire like this. So people, I just thought I'll bring that to your attention. And now that I've finished the story, I will do a bit interacting with the subscribers. So if you have got any comments, fire away and I will get through them. So where we go here. ASL Lewis says, thanks for your channel and thanks for letting us be updated on these shitbags. And that's exactly the reason why I do it on this channel, because as you'll notice, the reason why you're watching this channel, a lot of the stories I cover on here, all about prison. There is no TV channels or mainstream media channels that primarily focuses on prison stories and brings these stories to you. There's no other prison channel in the UK doing these type of stories. Yes, there might be people talking about issues inside of prison, but there isn't anybody coming on here talking about these type of offenders, the wrong uns, and coming on and giving my point of view and telling you what's happening in the prisons and bringing you the straight facts. Things that might just be in newspaper articles if you're looking online, but how many people sit and watch or read newspaper articles? Not very many. And I've got an app on my phone which primarily sends prison news. So there we have it. Right. So Richard Brown says, who's the most dangerous person you met in Frankland? And like he says there, Bieber, because people who have been watching my channel for a while, and the ones who are new, I will tell you, I was in HMP Frankland from 2006 till 2010. And I've done a Channel 5 documentary talking about HMP Frankland Prison. And I've spoke about this on that documentary, and I've spoke about it on this channel a few times. And the most dangerous person that I met whilst I was in Frankland High Security Prison was David Bieber. And David Bieber executed a police officer on Boxing Day in Bradford, I believe it was. He was caught up in Gateshead a number of days later. It might have been a week or a few days or a week later. He was caught up in Gateshead. Now, David Bieber is an American. I think he was on his tours over here. He was wanted in America. He got stopped by the coppers because his car flashed up. They put him in the back of the police car. He had a handgun, I think it was, down his pants. He's pulled the handgun out, threatened the coppers. He had the copper on his knees, begging for his life, point blank range, and he just put one in his head, ended him there and then. And I believe he also had done that so that he didn't have to go back to the United States to serve a sentence over there, because, as you can imagine, in the United States, a whole different ballgame to serving a sentence in the UK. So he was the most dangerous person I ever met. I met him inside the gym, standing next to him training. I remember the body parts that were training. We were training triceps. I was training triceps. I was standing next to him, and I was having a little bit of a talk with him. I looked into his eyes, and there was just no colouring in his eyes. He had like shark eyes. His eyes were just black, and he looked like an absolute psychopath, which he is. He actually went on to attack some screws in HMP Long Lawton. I believe it was a female screw, and he seriously assaulted her, attacking her with a makeshift chiv. So he is the most dangerous one, or the most scariest looking mother F I ever come across. Right, I'm just having a look for some more comments on here. I'm not sure what this one is, but I'll read it. Hi, Ricky, love the channel and all your contents, and for keeping us updated on the vilest and sickest of bacons and wrong'uns. Not here bother. Like I say, there's not another channel like this in the UK covering stories like this, covering the beasties, and more so the beasties when they get prison justice inside of prison, which happens all the time. Now, there is a few more different stories that have popped up, and I've been having a research, and something popped up about that Wade Cousins. But like I've said, I like to research the story properly so that I don't get any misinformation. Obviously, this story that I've just covered here, it is in a lot of articles, and I don't believe that all these outlets would have been able to cover this story if it wasn't verified from this source that has give the information. That's why I've come on and done the story. But if you are just joining now, once I finish the live, it will automatically upload, and then you'll be able to watch it from the start and watch it all the way through. Now that I've got more time on my hands, now that I'm living out here in Thailand with my family, got my own little podcast room here, and I do have more time, I will be doing more lives. I'm doing a live tomorrow at 3 p.m. UK time, talking about the IPP sentences. So keep an eye out for that one, people. Tune in to it tomorrow at 3 p.m. That's if you're not too rough after a night on the drink watching the boxing. But it is, as you can see on my watch there, 10:46 here in Thailand. But I do try and get these lives on now on at 10 o'clock at night here, which is 4 UK time. Right. So the Forbidden Man says UK would have had to have it in writing that the US would not give him the death penalty. Obviously, he's on about David Bieber there. I'm not sure what he's on about, but I think he might be replying to some of the comments in there. But obviously, David Bieber, if he was going to be getting or looking at something like that in the USA, looking at the death penalty or looking at life without parole, he's probably thought, do I go to the USA to serve me time, or do I kill this copper here and now and serve me time or serve time here in the UK? And that was the reason why he's done it. And he chose to do that on that fateful day. And like I've mentioned on here, it doesn't matter what you think about coppers. A copper doing his job on Boxing Day, who has a family to go back to, putting a bullet in his head for no reason is totally unjust. Jade, me moderator, how we doing? We all love your lives, Ricky. Thank you very much. How's life back in sunny Stanley or rainy Stanley? Because I've just spoken to me pal and he's informed us that it's absolutely chucking it down. So, Gen X Static says, how do you process your negative emotions related to your job? Now, what I think he means by that is, obviously, this is now a job, this YouTube, this is now a business. And I need to research these types of stories. I'm assuming this is what you're talking about because I did cover this the other day, saying about some of the stories that I cover on here. You've got to delve into it to find out the true facts and how do you process your negative emotions. I'm assuming that's what you mean. And if that is what you mean, you've got to learn to be professional about it. Obviously, coming on, talking about these type of offences, you can't go and then lie in your bed thinking about what's happened, thinking about what these poor kids have went through, even though you do think about it. But I mean, you can't sit and stew on it and let it fester in your mind and dampen your mood. But he's put on, he says, yes, it is, mate. Yes, exactly like what I've just said. You can't sit and fester thinking about it and thinking, I've got a duty to do now. I believe I've now got a duty to come on here and spread the word, let people know about this. I'm doing a good service by letting everybody know because, like I've said, it doesn't get covered in the mainstream media. So if it's not getting covered in the mainstream media, you lot sitting at home will not know nothing about these types of cases. So Marco Polo says, I'm struggling with the basic news, lol. I don't actually watch the news back in the UK. I don't watch it here. I don't watch the mainstream news for the simple fact. It's just, even though, like I've just said, I research stories, but this is just on my prison news app. So it's mainly just these type of articles that I do research. I don't actually sit and watch them because they feed you full of shit. They give you stuff that puts you in a bad mindset, and it's not very healthy watching that type of stuff that you don't know whether it's true or not. But again, you're watching my channel, which is a bit of a news channel now, but it's bringing you good news sometimes, talking about these beasties getting justice inside of prison. Right. So Army for Life says, are you coming back to the Northeast, bro, or living out there? I'm actually living out here with my family. I've got my wife and my 4 kids here. Yeah, I've got a couple of online businesses. Obviously, I've got my YouTube, my TikTok, that all comes under one business. I also do online fitness plans. So I do workout plans, diet plans, and online coaching. Actually, for the last 2 years, I've been coaching 2 millionaires. Obviously, they've read my book, they were watching my channel, they got in touch with us. And I've been coaching them, believe it or not, 2 millionaires who, obviously from 2 totally different businesses, got in touch with me, wanted to know how I managed to get in the best mindset in the worst place possible. They're in the best place possible, millionaires running multi-million-pound businesses, but yet they were in the worst place possible in their head, and they needed someone for a bit of advice. I was giving them a bit of life coaching, and I helped them get in the best shape possible, not just physically, but mentally. And obviously, if you're looking after people like this, helping change the lives of millionaires, they'll look after you in return. So that is what I've been doing as well. So he also says, congrats on over 100k subscribers. Well deserved. Love your channel. Try and listen every day. I'm always on and see your uploads. Thank you very much, mate. I've got a lot of very loyal subscribers who's been with us for a long time. I've got 110,000 followers on here now. I've got 140,000 on me TikTok. And across me Facebook and Instagrams, I've got about another 30 to 40,000. So I'm well over the 300,000 mark, because some of me other YouTube and TikTok channels as me fitness channels. I've got Ricky Clean Fitness, which is on TikTok and Instagram. So I am a very busy man. I've got to bring you the prison news. Then I've also got to do the motivation stuff and do my online fitness plans, workout plans, diet plans, and online coaching. But guess what? I wouldn't have it any other way. So I'm out here making a difference to people's lives now, instead of making or having an impact on people's lives by my bad behavior. I'm now doing good for society. Definitely redeemed myself, I think. Actually forgot to put my light on as well, but never mind. The old me podcast light, give us a bit better lighting, but later than never. Right. Finns says, considering what you have been through, you are a very positive person. Kudos to you. Thank you very much, pal. And I have covered my story on here a few times. I've done one quite recently. And I didn't want to bore people by going over the same old stuff, because obviously when I first started my channel off, I was talking about my story, how I ended up in prison. I've went over that quite a few times, so now moved on to other stuff. But if you are interested in seeing what I was in prison for, go to the podcast section on here. I do a couple of videos where I go in depth talking about it. And if you want to see the Channel 5 documentary, it's called HMP Frankland Monster Mansion, which is on my Channel 5 catch-up. So Emma B, well done, and for turning your life around. You are a great person to talk to kids, teens, to refocus their lives. So I have been into schools back in the UK. I went into a school. The kids were at risk of going to prison. So I was approached and asked to go in and speak with the kids. So I went in and did make a massive difference, had an impact on their lives, talking about prison, how I ended up in prison and how I become successful. So that did get a lot of good feedback. I set a group up in my gym that I had back in the UK, which was called Behind the Bars Support Group. And I actually saved 6 lads from taking their own lives. And that for me was a massive reward. Them 6 lads that I saved obviously wouldn't be here if it wasn't for what I'd done, talking with them, getting them back on the right track, getting them into the gym, getting them boosted both physically and mentally. And guess what? Didn't cost a penny. It was all for free. But doing stuff like that for free, helping people, is a massive reward. So Mark Watts, personal training, says always good watching your podcast, lad. Thank you very much, pal. Right, people, I'm going to wrap up in about a minute. I've been on for nearly 30 minutes. It's now nearly 11 o'clock at night here, so I am going to wrap this one up. Jade, do you feel like you broke the chain? Definitely broke the shackles, well and truly off, especially when I come out here to Thailand, because when I was serving that IPP sentence, couldn't leave the country. Even though I was out of prison, I was out in the community, I felt like I had a big shackle on my back, 100 key shackle dragging us back. But now the IPP's terminated, that shackle has been took off, and I feel like about 5 stone bouncing about. Way. Right, people, I'm going to leave that one there. Thank you very much for watching. It is Saturday night. A lot of you will be getting tanked up watching the where the football is on, actually. Newcastle's got a friendly game, I believe, and the boxing is on tonight. So be careful, watch what you're doing, don't get too smashed, and don't be all feeling down and depressed because you've had too much. Watch what you're doing, because that devil's juice does nothing but cause trouble. Since I've went teetotal, I'm living my best life. And on that note, people, take care, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and most importantly, stay safe.